Making beats is amazing. It's what we do best. But when it comes to mixing, you feel lost. You see all these beat makers getting insane amounts of views, selling hundreds of beats every month, and you just want to do the same thing. Before I'll show you how to achieve the perfect mix, you must remember that you're a beat maker, not a mixing engineer. So the quality of your beat is more important than your mix. That said, let's start with step 1, creating a beat. I created this dark melody and bounced it to a WAV file. This sounds perfect. Next, I added this drum loop that fits the melody perfectly, including an 808 pattern, and I also included a bass line for the intro of my beat. There we go. First, we're gonna level and balance our sounds one by one. If you can master this part, you're already 70% there. Some people level in the channel rack, others use the mixer panel, but the difference is huge. Let me explain. When you adjust the volume in the channel rack, your patterns will be sent to a mixer, which means before it hits the effects chain. When you adjust the fader in the mixer, you adjust the volume after your sounds went through the effects rack, and that's a big difference. Now, what I like to do is use the knobs in the channel rack when I'm creating my beat, but once I'm done, I reset them before sending them to the mixer panel. Now, to start leveling your sounds, simply create a quick arrangement first. Head over to the playlist, and in here, we can see our loop we created in the channel rack. Right-click it and choose Split by Channel. Now, all our patterns are separated. This means we can play around in the playlist and create an arrangement. I also made a video about that, so if you want to check it out after this video, go ahead. Next, send all your sounds to the mixer panel. To do that, go back to the channel rack and scroll the mixer track selector. When it says 1 right here, this means the 808 is routed to the mixer track number 1. I then like to rename and color my mixer tracks to make sure my project is organized. I also like to create buses for my drums and my melodies. Those black mixer tracks you see in here are my buses. I just route all my drums to my drum bus like this, and that way, instead of going to the master track, they will all be sent to this bus track. This gives me the option to apply effects like compression and whatever to all my drums at once. Same thing for the melody. To level the beat, mute everything except for the melody bus. Bring up the elements of your melody until everything sounds clear. After the melody, I like to enable the 808. I usually try not to surpass -6 decibels at this point. If the 808 isn't as loud as you'd like, bring down the melody instead of bumping up the 808. Next, bring in the drums and start increasing the sounds one by one as well. When you're done, fine-tune the loudness of all your elements one more time. That way you can hear the entire mix at once. It's time to start adding some effects, and oh boy, this is where the fun begins. But first, I want to reveal my little secret on how I became a great beatmaker. I learned so much by using Skillshare. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Lately, I'm seriously trying to level up my chord progressions and melodies by learning advanced music theory. With classes on Skillshare, I mastered this skill in no time. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare can help take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. Now, you have tons of music and audio classes that you can explore. These classes will absolutely level up your projects in FL Studio. You can also learn more about how the music industry works, which is crucial, by the way, if you want to learn how to sell beats. You can even learn how to play instruments or enhance your composition and music theory skills. As I mentioned before, that's what I'm working on currently. Mike Barnes's class has leveled leveled up my work a lot. First, you will learn everything about the basics, and once you understand them, you will learn the juicy stuff like suspended chords, extensions, and whatnot. Definitely worth checking out. Now, besides musical classes, you can learn other skills, for example, to increase your productivity. Ali Abdal has a class about productivity for creators. This is extremely useful for my tutorials, but you can learn a lot from it as well. I mean, you gotta learn how to promote your beats on social media. This can be a door opening for you to finally start selling your beats and become successful. Now, 2024 is coming to an end, which means you gotta look back and reflect. Think about what you can do personally to grow next year and become a better version of yourself. Go browse through the endless classes on Skillshare, and I promise you'll find a lot that will level you up in 2025. Oh, and the first 500 people to use my link in the description below will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. I mean, you can learn a lot in a month, and it's for free. So again, link down below. But now let's continue mixing our beats. It's time to clean up the mix by using some effects. First, put the 808 and kick in mono. That way those powerful sounds will sit in the middle, which means there's space for the other elements around it. When that's done, select the melody mixer track and go to the effects rack. Find the fruity equalizer and remove the low end. This will create more space for elements like bass, 808s and kicks. Be careful though, because if you overdo this, you will remove the character of your melody. There's absolutely no need to EQ individual elements like your kick, snare or hi-hat because you probably downloaded them from a drum kit. This means they're already crisp and clean, ready to use. So unless you want to be creative and actually change the way your sample sounds, don't use an EQ. However, I do like to put an EQ on the 808. Let me show you why. By boosting up frequencies around this range, you can scroll and find a growl sound. You can do this if you want to make your 808 sound more aggressive, but without using distortion or saturation. But don't worry, this was just a creative mixing tip. Next, we're gonna glue the drums together and make them sound more consistent, which is important in hip-hop and trap. To do that, open up a fruity compressor on the drum bus. The trick is to create an insanely aggressive compression. Decrease the threshold to about -25. Increase the ratio to 10, decrease the attack, and increase the release. You can play around with the gain as well. Now, this obviously sounds terrible, so what we're gonna do is close up the compressor and find the effect in the effects rack. In here, decrease the mix knob. This will blend the before and after compression and gives you more control. The more you turn this up, the flatter and more compressed your drums will sound. Next, I want to show you something I like to do personally. I like to pan my sounds right after compressing the drums. Usually this is something you do before adding EQ or compression, but I always find myself tweaking it afterwards because it doesn't sound the way I like anymore. That's why I pan my hi-hats, layered snares or claps and open hi-hats right now. Same thing for reverb. Simply create a mixer track and call it reverb. Then apply a reverb effect on this mixer track. Then once the effect is open, make sure the dry is set to 0 and the wet to 100. Now back in the mixer track, I like to route my sound straight to my reverb. Then use this knob at the bottom to mix the reverb. Gives you a little more control. The next step is sidechaining your kick with your 808, and I already made an in-depth video about it, so again, click the info button right here after this video. Now that you're done mixing, you can do two things. You can export the track with the trackouts and send them to an artist who purchased your beat. That way you'll leave enough headroom for the artist to work on. But you can also upload your track to YouTube. If you're uploading your track to YouTube or any other platform, you need to first make sure your beat sounds crisp and clear, and that can be done by mastering it. Again, if you're promoting your beats on YouTube or any other platform, click the video right here on my left to learn everything about mastering in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching.